that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news. Nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy. Oh, welcome back to Really Real with Richie Redding. I'm Richie Redding. I might look like a bit of a sleepyhead this morning. That is because this is the Smoky Mountains Vacation Edition, live from a big-ass rental cabin. It should be called a lodge, but it's a cabin. And I wanted to get this episode out because we're taking off next week. And I woke up at 7:30 in the goddamn morning, which for me is 2 in the morning. And it's pissing rain in the mountains. I couldn't be any happier about this. And I want to have myself a little cigar. And I want to tell you the greatest hell gig story that I've ever had. This fucking... There we go. So, I think I mentioned before that Nate Bargatze told me one time that I should write a book called, what do you say it should be called? How to Not Make It in Comedy. Don't do what I did. And since I'm in the ancestral home of the great Nate, so I got booked to do this thing in St. Croix by the Comic Talent, and who's a OG, like New York King black comic. And when especially moving up here, and a lot of guys have this story that like talent puts more money in young dudes' pockets than anybody. He also probably makes the most off of you, right? So it's always some kind of gig where it's enough money for you to go, but you also know that he's keeping a real good amount of the bag. And this thing in St. Croix, the deal was... Oh, so to predicate, you had to have the standby privileges, and the standby thing was something that I didn't know about for a long time, but I would see black comics who were like feature acts that would be like, yeah, I was just in St. Louis last night, and then I got to bounce to Denver, and then I'm coming back to Philly for a show, and then I'm going to go back out to, like in Seattle, and I'm doing Puerto Rico, and like just all these crazy places that they'd be bouncing all over to all the time. But like, we were on the same level, and I knew they were making $250, maybe $400 for a show, and there's not a chance any of this shit made sense. Like, how are you possibly flying around all the time? And it was because they all get put on, at the time they called it the buddy pass, that somebody that worked for the airlines those people all get they get like one, maybe two people that they name as their travel companion, and that person can fly standby for only the cost of the taxes. So I was looking for somebody forever, and the rules of the game is that it has to be a fat black chick. I didn't make these rules. These are the rules of the game. Got to be a chick, got to be fat, got to be black. I just live life. So And there's like a broker involved, and it was like $1,500 for the year. I did it for I think 2 or 3 years that I had this thing. So Talon hits me up and he's like, "Yo, you still got your flight privileges?" Yeah. He's like, "All right, bet." It's the day before. No, the day after Halloween. And we're going to, it's in St. Croix. You fly, you're going to be there for 3 days. It's 2 nights, 3 days. You fly in and you only do the show one night, and it's at this bar on like the local side of town. And it was enough money that it was like, yeah, that just makes sense to go and do that. So fly down, and the first impression was good. That it was like there was a car. He said there was going to be a car there waiting for me. There was a car there waiting for me, and then we get to. There's not really like resort type hotels on this side of the island. It's the side of the island where the final scene of Shawshank, when he meets him on the beach, that was the beach that we were on, just as a side note. And so yeah, the guy takes me to what's really just a motel. It had the vibe of the place that the apartment complex that Mr. Miyagi took care of, right? And there's like one employee at this hotel. It's this old lady, and she shows me up to after waiting for like 15 minutes for her to show up at the front desk. She shows me to my room, and and like as soon as she leaves, I go and like somebody had left piss in the toilet, like ugh. So flush the toilet, look outside for a second, and then I go back in, and I was like, wait, I left brown piss in the toilet? Flush that. I'm still just fucking around, and then the doorbell rings, and it's a pretty hot girl holding a bottle of champagne. She's like, "Welcome to St. Croix. You can come over to the bar where the show is anytime. We just wanted you to, to enjoy yourself, relax, welcome your family while you're here. Ask us for anything." Okay, awesome. I don't drink, but this is good. This is a good sign of how I'm going to be treated. She leaves, and I go back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a shower, get ready, and go, head over to the bar, and then like go cruise around or get some food or something. And I go back in the bathroom, and there's piss in the toilet again. What the fuck is happening here? Flush it, and then I just watch it fill up, and this shit just fills up with brown water. It's like, okay, do not drink the water. You're better off relapsing drinking champagne than drinking this water. Got it. So then I go into the shower, and there's no soap, no shampoo, nothing in the shower whatsoever. So I got to go hunt down this old lady again. And I tell her there's no shampoo, and she barely speaks English. I found out, this is another fun side note, that all of the workers in St. Croix are Dominicans, and their slur for them is Santos. They all call them Santos because they come from Santo Domingo, I'm assuming. And so I find this old lady, tell her that there's no shampoo, and she's like, in broken English, she's like, okay, like, go upstairs. I'll be there in 1 minute. 15 minutes later, she shows up, and she has half a bottle of like blackberry Vidal Sassoon, no, VO5. Vidal Sassoon is high end. VO5 shampoo, no soap. And she hands it to me and then puts her hand out like, wait, do you want a tip right now? And like I go in and like I grab a few bucks, and then she's like, no, the shampoo, mine. So I deduced that after I showered, I had to give this old broad back her shampoo, which she lent me for one shower. So like literally nothing comes with this fucking hotel room whatsoever, other than they send some hot chick over with a bottle of booze. So I am thoroughly enjoying this cigar. I haven't had a cigar in like 3 months, like, because we're doing the IVF stuff. Like my jizz is going to actually affect it, but or that one cigar is going to affect my jizz. And since we're on vacation, I stood up for myself. I did, having a cigar, woman. So now I'm having one at 8:15 in the morning, like a real man. Couldn't be any happier. So when I go over to the bar, the first, like, before I get there, I see the chick, and she's cool, and she's like, oh, okay, you gotta meet the owner. And I meet the owner. So first of all, there's all kinds of festivities happening for like the Day of the Dead party. And so things are preparing for that. Like, they're clearly like getting ready for something big. And like on like the whole island, they're into this shit, I guess, because they have like such strong Spanish or like Mexican roots or whatever. And that doesn't make sense now that I say it out loud. But the owner's super cool. She's just some chick that owns a bar in St. Croix. She's American, you know, moved down there 10 years ago, has her business, whatever. And can't wait to see you. Thanks so much for coming down, blah, blah, blah. Great. I'm currently feeling great about the show. And then a minute after meeting her, still outside of the bar, I meet Dave. And Dave introduces himself as like, what's up, bro? My name's Dave. Dap. So glad to meet you, man. Love comedy. Dap. Aw, man, can't wait to see you perform. Dap. So within 3 sentences, we're 3 handshakes deep already. By the third one, it's like, okay, I already hate this guy. Every fucking sentence this 40-year-old man said was somehow punctuated with me needing to participate in giving him a pound of some sort. How would I describe Dave? Well, first of all, he described himself as, I'm like what they would call like the, you know, like the CEO of fun around this bitch, bro. Yeah, man, I'm just like, boom, like I get ideas and it's bam, and we're just going to like, yo, dap, like awesome. I would describe him as if, whatever the Wigger version of Chicano is, what's a white guy that wants to be an essay? That's Dave. And he has the fashion sensibility of something between a Juggalo and Big J. Okerson. He's very much festooned, more chains than one man and rings than one man could ever need. There's multiple handkerchiefs and neckerchiefs and such hanging off of this guy. Out of pockets, just Johnny Depp level of man jewelry, which makes the daps suck even more, right? Because every time he just taking one to the knuckles. I hate this man. I immediately hate this man. So, where we're standing outside for this dead end conversation of him, him telling me how awesome he is. I'm like, and all I care about is this show, right? So I'm like, all right, so where's the show going to be? And the bar, it's one of these island places that it's got the entrance is always wide open, and it's these two arches divided by a tiny wall, and it's entrance, tiny wall, entrance. And we walk in, and he's like, I'm like, well, hold on, first, before we even go inside, he tells me that they're going to have an absolute blowout party for this Day of the Dead thing. And he's like, yeah, man, I got the backstage where we're going to have like 800 people, and we're going to have this big ass stage, and there's going to be calypso music, and there's going to be fire carlers and shit, and everybody's going, and then we got a ska band. It's going to be fucking hardcore, dude. Then I'm going to have the fire dancers bring everybody up to the front for the comedy show. And I was like, well, why don't we just have it, if everybody's there, why don't we just have it back there? Nah, dude, nah. I'm going to have them like pour on fire, and everybody's going to be following them and shit, right? Dap. Fuck me. So I was like, no, I think we should just do it where the people already are. First of all, it's already a nightmare having to follow music, right? If anything, the obvious flow is do the comedy show, I warm everybody up, and then they start dancing. If people are already dancing and looking at half-naked fire twirler chicks, and then it's like, okay, everyone stop having fun. This dickhead is about to say words. There's immediate resentment from the audience. They hate you. Immediately hate you. So this is where I'm like, all right, well, let's see the place. And let me see the stage that you got set up on the inside. So we walk in between these two arches, and he goes, here. Like, where's the stage? Right here. Like, in the entrance? He's like, yeah, dude, trust me, this is gonna be great. So somehow we wind up sitting down, like, I'm sitting down and just like looking at the menu, and again, I'm like, dude, I've been doing this 10 years or something at this point. That I'm like, I've never seen it work in the entrance of a building. Like, people are just going to be walking through this show space. There's no way this works. And he's like, nah, dude, but look, man, like, this is the dedicated comedy space. So he's like, look what we did, man. Look what we did. And he's like, look at the wall right here. You see the fish on the wall, and there's like these little just decal, islandy, not decals, but like the painting on the wall there's little reef fish and shit, every few feet. I was like, okay, yeah. He's like, now you got to walk up here. And we walk up to this, 2.5 foot strip of wall. He points, and you got to like get close. And there's a microphone in front of like 3 or 4 of the fish. I was like, microphone fish? Like, boom. Microphone fish. So in Dave's mind, the only thing that it takes to make something a reasonable stage for stand-up comedy is to put not microscopic, but tiny little microphones in front of the fish. And then there is also a Polaroid sized picture of Richard Pryor on there. That's it. And it's like, there's no talking this dude out of it. And I sit down and order dinner, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, I'm just contemplating how bad this is going to suck and how there's no way people are going to shut the fuck up if they were just dancing and shit. Yeah, so one last time, I'm like, dude, I have to be as emphatic as I possibly can here. I don't see how this works in the entrance, especially if people are already back there. He's like, yeah, dude, man, I do shows here like all the time, no, bro. I was like, well, Talent said you guys had done one before. Was it here? He's like, yeah, but like when I do my shows, I was like, wait, you're a comedian? He's like, oh yeah, I'm not like a comedian, but like a show with comedy, dude. I'm like, okay. And I was like, so what kind of stuff do you do? He's like, well, I'm not like one of these comedians that like write shit down and like does the same shit all the time. I'm like John Leguizamo, like stream of consciousness, boom, crazy shit, bro. I was like, oh, and I had also found out when I got there that there was no opener, it's just me. And so immediately I seize on this. I'm like, well, Dave, I didn't know you're a comic, dude. This changes the game. So tell you what, how about you do 15 minutes tomorrow and then bring me up? And he processes this like fucking drugs just kicked in. He's like, yo, I should do it, bro. Like, whoa. Yeah, dap. So the only tiny victory that I have here is knowing that I'm not on the hook for the entire hour that this show has to be, because I now have this dickhead covering, let's say he does, because I said 15, always anchor high. So I'm like, all right, he'll probably do like 7 minutes maybe, right? So that I won't have to do. And again, they're like, all right, so tomorrow, like, we want you to see the island, and we want to me and two Casa type shit, and she can take you around to town. Who's the cute chick? She can take you around to town anywhere that you want to go. And, she's on the clock tomorrow, and they consider her your guide. Like, okay, great. All I want to do is go into town and get a cigar. All right. So I'm like, and I want to sit on the beach, smoke a stick. That's all I fucking want to do for the entire day that I'm in St. Croix. She says that she's going to be there. Oh, we just asked from her leg. Boys. She says she's going to be there at like 11:30. This bitch shows up at like 2:45 on island time. And it gets me into town. She has to make like 5 stops. She drinks a beer at every one of these stops. She's wasted driving me around in this like 2-stroke car that has like no fucking muffler on it. Just wah, 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 wah. Just getting around town in this shit box. And I think we finally get back at like, it was like 5 o'clock. Like the whole day was dead by the time we get back. And I'm also hungry. So she tells me where to go from the hotel, that there's a beach bar that I can get some food. That thing's on island time, that there's 2 customers, and this local lady is talking to these 2 customers and doesn't look over at me at all for 20 minutes. And then she finally moseys over and takes my order. And that takes like 20 minutes before she puts it on. So I'm there for an hour losing my mind because I ordered like a piece of chicken. Like it was the simplest thing in the world to make. And I'm on New York time. She's on Island time. I'm freaking out internally because the show is at 8:00 and all I fucking want to do is smoke my stick, look out at the ocean, chill, right? So I finally have my food. I go out. So I'm walking down the beach. There's a ton of people. I mean, there's not many people on the beach total. There's probably 30 people, but they're all clustered on top of each other. And then the rest of the beach is like totally open. And then like a couple 100 yards down, there's another cluster of people. But I'm like, dude, there's nobody here. This is great. I want to go for a swim, get wet, come back, have my stick. This is going to be awesome. So I go out and I swim around for like 30 seconds. And the first step that I take down, bam, I stepped on a fucking landmine and I get shooting pain in my whole foot. Just boom, like, what the? And I'd stand up and scream like, nobody on this whole beach turns around. So I limp back with one foot. I limp back like, what the fuck just happened? So I quickly put it together that I just stepped on a sea urchin. And when I get back to the beach and like fall down in pain, there's something like 16 little needles sticking out of my right foot. And like 3 or 4 of them are under the toenails. And there's 2 kinds of sea urchins. There's the poisonous and non-poisonous. Your boy lucks out. Poisonous. So the initial shock and pain of just stepping on the needles is one thing, but then the poison keeps coming on and keeps getting stronger for like at least another half hour. And then it just like levels off for a steady state of poison pain. And it's just hot needles in my foot. So I limp and I like, after the initial scream, kind of look around. Nobody reacts on this whole fucking beach at all. So I like army crawl up to my phone, and me and Lisa had only been dating for like 3 or 4 months at this point. But she was also low-key already starting to become my primary care physician as a veterinarian. So I call her and tell her what just happened, and she's like, "Okay, I'm on it. I'm researching it. Let me look it up." And so I start trying to like kind of pull these things out, but the fun of sea urchins is that they're super duper brittle, and if you touch them at all, they break off at the exact point where the where you touch them. So she's like, okay, the pain is going to keep coming for the next half hour. That is going to level off. Whatever you do, don't piss on it. That's a wives' tale that supposedly helps with jellyfish. It will not do anything for sea urchins. And like, as she's saying it, it was amazing timing. As she's saying this, some Rasta guy walks by who's the only person that offers any help whatsoever, and he just laughs and he goes, "You want me to piss on it, man?" Like, no, thank you, sir. Thank you. If anybody pisses on my foot, it's going to be me. I got this. So she's like, there's something called like black wax that you can try, and that's supposed to like attach to it. But Other than that, don't try tweezers. Don't try anything. Like and it says your foot will eventually just like expel them. So I can't walk on this foot for shit. And I called the bar and was like, "Hey, it's the comedian that for tonight," and it's like 6:10, 6:15 at this point. I need some. Tell them what happened. I just stepped on a sea urchin. I'm in a lot of pain. I need somebody to come and pick me up. I'm like 100 yards, maybe 200 yards away from the bar, tops. Like, can you send the chick with the car so she can pick me up? They put me on hold for 15 minutes. Nobody gets back. I call again. Put me on hold for 5 minutes. Call again. And I get the actual girl, and she's like, "Okay, I'll be right there." Like 15 minutes later, this bitch shows up. So I'm not keeping track of my time or the story, but it's like, no, actually, I know for a fact that she got there after 7 because she's like, "I'll take you to the pharmacy and we'll try to get some of this black wax stuff." We get to the pharmacy. It's like 7:10, closed at 7. So if they didn't put me on hold for half an hour, or if she just showed up, I could have possibly gotten some kind of relief, right? Nope. So I get back to my room at like 7:30, and it's an 8 o'clock show. And there's like, and the poison's good for hour and a half, 2 hours. My foot is still absolutely on fire. So, but we're like right next door to the show, and I'm expecting to hear some kind of raucousness, and I'm not hearing this 800 person party, right? So I lived my bitch ass over there, and my priority was also that I had to find my flight for the way out, because I had to figure out what the standby flight was. So and the way to do it is just to get like the first flight out in the morning. That's always the move. So I go upstairs to the office, and Dave is dressed like one of the bad guys. He's dressed like the Cobra Kai guys in the skeleton outfit. And he's like, "Yo, man, I heard you don't drink and shit. What's up, pussy?" He does a rail of blow and then hits a nitrous balloon and goes, "I do drugs, you faggot." And he like blue lip passes out for a second. And he like pops up and goes downstairs. And like, "Oh yeah, you make it look so glamorous, dude. Sorry I can't sit here and die with you as you're dressed like a fucking villain. You're dressed like you're out of The Nightmare Before Christmas." So, oh, and also, the bar was dead. When I went through, there was nobody down there, despite the CEO of Fund assuring me that there was going to be 600 to 800 people and, multiple bands and fire twirlers. So I'm figuring out my flight out, and I realize that it's like 7 a.m, which means I'm going to have to leave by 6, like, might as well not sleep tonight type situation. Foot is absolutely on fire. And while I'm booking my, like, standby or whatever, I hear some rumbling downstairs through the speaker system. And then some chick comes running up after, like, 2 minutes, and she's like, "Are you the comedian?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You need to get downstairs now." I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Dave is doing comedy." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I got to get downstairs now." So again, I limp my bitch ass down there, and there's maybe 15 or 20 people there. And nobody's looking up. They've still got the TVs on, which is the absolute death of comedy. They're not looking up. All I hear, the last thing that I hear of Dave is that he's like, I'm talking about a half white dick, half Chinese dick, half black dick. I would suck that dick. Woo! Nobody reacts. Nobody looks up. I am thoroughly enjoying this stuff. And he looks around. He's like, all right, you motherfuckers. You don't think I'm funny? Well, this next fucking guy is funny. He looks right at me. And it was at this moment that I realized he doesn't know my name. He goes, all right, y'all, give it up for fucking from New York City. Give it up for him. Woo! And of course, nobody reacts. He's got his hands up like this, right? He's got them both up. And I walk up in total silence. And this dickhead drops the mic as his walk off for my intro. So, feedback and shit. So, I have to go pick up this mic, dust it off, tap on it. And so that's my introduction to these people. And then stand in this door or this wall with the microphone fish is the exact same size as my back, right? And I go up. I have to ask them to turn the TVs off. They do that, and that like pisses people off. I'm just leaning up against this wall. Yeah, I tell them, I make some kind of light, make fun of, talk about my stepping on the sea urchin. Nobody gives a piece of a fuck. And they're also hammered. They're just like offensively deep, dark, tanned people that left the mainland to go drink themselves to death on the island. And I start winning them over, right? I'm doing my thing. I'm winning them over one at a time. And I keep getting it to the point that the audience likes me. And then somebody walks in and walks through and is like, yo, what's up? And it just walks right through the show, kills any momentum I might have to crowd work this person into submission so that they know that they're also there for a comedy show. This goes on for an hour. Of course, there's a enormous truck going by as I'm telling this story right now. Go on, truck. Yeah. I hope you leave so fast. Okay. So I'm also in the court, but there's also like I can't win them over all the way. It's constantly a joke-to-joke contract, but I'm doing some things, Dorian, that I was like crowd whispering shit of guessing people, guessing exactly what people did for a living. There's one guy that I kept calling the Colonel, and I was like, I feel like you were a colonel in the military, and you now have a woodworking shop. And he kind of smirks. And then I go back to him later. I was like, sir, what did you, and you must be retired. What did you do? What did you do for a living? He's like, I was a colonel in the United States Army. I was like, what? Did you guys know that? And they're like, yeah. I was like, and you didn't fucking go crazy for me? They're like, well. I was like, what do you do now, sir? He's like, I got a woodworking shop. Are you fucking kidding me? That you guys didn't give me crazy props for guessing what this guy does for a living, sight unseen. So it's that kind of battle. It's that kind of a dead crowd. I hit the hour mark, end the show, and I was so laid back on this wall the whole time because it was my only safety point that it was a red wall, and I was wearing a brand new white t-shirt that was now pink on the back because I was just I'm on base. I'm safe if I'm here. Show ends, whatever. So the most engaged couple that was in the show comes up to me afterwards, and they're like, "Dude, you're really funny." I was like, "Thank you." And they're like, "No, you should do comedy." It's like, what do you think I just did? They're like, "Yeah, but like it should be like planned." It's like, I flew here from New York to do a show. Like, I'm a professional comedian. This is what I do. And they're like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, nobody knew there was going to be a show. We just thought you were Dave's friend." And I think everybody thought you were Dave's friend. And everybody hates Dave. And since you're his friend, we just hated you because we hate Dave. Like, oh, fuck me. So not only was there no fire dancers, none of this stuff, there was like no advertisement that it was going to be a show, and it was comedy by surprise. And they literally thought I was just Dave's other dickhead that just riffed this thing, right? So next morning, it's like I couldn't hate life anymore. My foot is still killing me. There's absolutely no cure for it. I took like a Tylenol or something. That's it. And I've still got all these things. I've got 16 spikes in my foot, and I'm limping around. I get to the airport in the morning. I get that first flight out, but then I'm still flying standby. And so the next closest place is San Juan in Puerto Rico, and I have to fly out of there. But thing that they didn't tell me was that especially on weekends, Puerto Rico is completely flooded with all of the people that work for U.S. Air that are also flying standby. So I miss like 4 flights in a row. And it gets to the point that and it's Sunday, and somebody's like, "Yeah, you're probably going to be here until Tuesday." Like, in the airport until Tuesday? No. So I wind up getting a last-minute ticket on JetBlue that cost me basically the same price of what I made on the show. I have to go back to Queens. Lisa picks me up from LaGuardia. And she had just done, she was working emergency at this time, and she had just done an overnight, but she's educating herself on this, on how to get sea urchin needles out. So we get that back to her place. She immediately puts on, like, it had the vibe of the old-timey doctor with the what was that reflector thing? I never got the reflector thing. But she's got my camping light on her forehead. She shows up with a lidocaine needle in one hand and then some like scraping thing in the other. And she's like, "All right, I'm going to see if we can just if I can just dig one out of your foot." And she touches this thing. She's like, "Nope," like just my fight. I don't know if I'm a total pussy, but a needle touches my foot, it recoils immediately. And then she's got the lidocaine needle. She's like, "I can give you this. I just don't think it's going to keep you from jerking your foot around. So I think we need to get you to," she's like, "I think a dermatologist is the way to go." So another wrinkle to the story. So I've got shit insurance at the time, some Obamacare shit. And the only doctor that I had in Jersey City at the time was this old guy that it was fucking gross. And it was like, it was in his house, like downstairs in his house. And I had gone to him one time. I just wanted like in general physical type stuff, but I also told him that I was having a lot of trouble sleeping when I was on tour. And if there's anything that would help me sleep on a plane that's not addictive and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even realize it, but he gave me straight up Valium. And the first thing I tell any doctor is that I'm an addict and you can't prescribe me anything that has anything in it that's remotely addictive. And this dude gives me straight up benzos. And I actually didn't realize that until like 2 weeks after I'd been taking them. Lisa saw them in my medicine cabinet. She's like, yeah, you can't take this. Like, fuck. So I get on the phone with this guy, tell him that I've got an emergency situation and I need a referral for my shit HMO so I can go to this dermatologist. So she also Googled around to find out who has laser ablation, because there was like one thing, there's like one study in the UK of getting sea urchin needles out of your foot, or spines, they're actually called spines, out of your foot with laser ablation. And there's one guy in Jersey that does it. She had made this call and the guy's like, never heard of doing that, but bring him in, let's try it. So he's like excited to try to use his fancy laser in a new way. But first I have to get around this doctor. I'm on the phone. I'm like, yeah, doc, I'm in a ton of pain. I just need a referral so I can do this. He's like, you got to come in. I'm in extreme pain. I've got a real time crunch. I can only get there by this time. He's like, well, how do you even know it was a sea urchin? I was like, because it was a sea urchin. And he goes, well, did a doctor tell you it was a sea urchin? He's like, let me ask you something. If somebody hit you in the head with a bat, do you need a doctor to tell you that you got hit in the head with a bat? Or you just know it was a fucking bat? He's like, I don't like your tone. I was like, I don't like having to do this. He's like, well, you got to come in. So, schlep from Hell's Kitchen into like the hood in Jersey City. Don't know why I ever went to this guy. And he shows up. He finally lets me in, and he's like, well, before I can give you a referral, I need to try to get them out myself. I was like, how are you going to get them out? And he's like, hold on. And he goes and gets tweezers. He's like, let me see your foot. It's like, absolutely not. He's like, well, you have to let me try. I was like, did you even fucking Google this, dude? It's like, if you do that, they're going to break apart and it's going to be more painful. I'm going to have microscopic pieces tied off, or, broken off in my foot. And he's like, I really don't like your attitude. And I was like, well, how about this? How about I don't report you to the medical board for knowingly give a guy that told you he's an addict benzos? How about that? And I said it like super loud. He was like, I don't think you should keep coming here. And I was like, I'm never coming back ever again. This is a fucking dump and you're a quack. So like totally get into it with him. He begrudgingly writes me this thing. And it was so obvious. The only reason that he wanted me to come in was so he could get his shit doctor's visit and, bill the insurance or whatever. So he makes $100 doing it. Speed over to the dermatologist in like Central Jersey. And I knew I was in for a treat because there's like 5 assistants are in the room, and they're all like, this is him? And it's like, yeah. And Lisa's also in the room, like, talking medicine with this guy. He's like, all right, well, and she tells him what she did, and that it's just, it's too reactive. And he's like, well, if you got tough feet, you'll that's definitely going to help. What do you do for a living? I was like, I'm a comedian. He's like, all right, we're going to need to give you some lidocaine. He's like, but I'm going to warn you that the lidocaine might hurt just as bad as stepping on this thing. So long story short was that I had to get, I think it was like every one of them needed like 2 needles. So I took over 30 needles into the foot, like 6 of which were under my toenails with the lidocaine needle. And if you've ever gotten lidocaine, the first 30 seconds of that burns like a motherfucker, right? So I'm just in there getting these things just dug out of my foot. There's the 5 assistants were just laying on my knee to keep it from jerking around, because still, even with the lidocaine, I can feel it feels like a needle in the foot, and he's just digging it out millimeter by millimeter by millimeter with a needle out of my foot. And then when it finally gets to the ones that are like in the toe and under the toenails, he's like, all right, I think that we can get these out with the laser. And this is where the nurses all like really light up. So we go into this whole other room, and so there's still like 6 left in the foot, right, from the toe and toenails ones. And lead jacket. I gotta wear friggin' blackout goggles. He's got a full-on welder's mask. All the nurses have to turn around, and he's zapping my foot with this thing for like 3 minutes, and I smell my foot cooking. Like, I smell skin burning. It's mine. After a few minutes, he's like, well, good news, bad news. It's like, what's the good news? He's like, well, we now know that laser ablation doesn't work for removing sea urchin needles from your foot. It's like, okay, what's the bad news? He's like, that's pretty much the bad news too. It's like, so late in the day, it's closing time. You can come back next week. We can see if these things will just work their way out of your foot, or if you want to just soldier through it, we can just stay late and get it done now. And it's like, fuck it, man. Let's get it done. So I stay there. More needles, because the lidocaine has worn off at this point. Digs them all out of my toenails and shit, and it's like it's like the almost throw up kind of pain of somebody just literally digging under my toenails with a fucking needle. Finally gets them all out. He's like, okay, well, it should heal up within a week. And 5 days from then, I have to be in LA, that I've got a bunch of shows out there. And like day 3, started feeling better, start walking around again. Then I get to LA and I start limping. The limp keeps getting worse and worse. Send pictures back to Lisa, and she's like, I think it's infected, or I forget what she called it. And she's like, basically, you've got this infection of pus building up around like 4 or 5 of them. It's like, oh, fuck me. But and it's like, she's like, don't just go to emergency room. Like, you have to go to a specialist. Like, awesome. So nowhere any good is going to take my shit HMO. Liga Privada number 9. It's the best stick out there if you're looking for a Mindoro, kids. But she's like, my dad's best friend is the chief of surgery at Robert Wood Johnson, the Rutgers Hospital. Come back, we'll go visit him. So, a couple days later, and the limp is just worse and worse. Like, I can barely put any weight on this foot whatsoever. Go back and meet him. We go to Robert Wood Johnson. The nurse looks at my HMO insurance, and she's like, I can't even let you back there with it. So the doctor is going to have to come out there and see it. So in this huge waiting room of people, the head of surgery comes out and sees me. He sees the foot. He's like, all right, what are you doing at like 5:30? I was like, nothing. He's like, go to her parents' house. I'll see you there. So the first time that I ever meet her parents was to get a bootleg surgery in their kitchen. And like, I really wanted to make a good impression. And the impression, instead of like, hey, this is the guy that's dating your veterinarian daughter. This is the scumbag who doesn't have insurance that's acceptable in the biggest hospital in New Jersey. So he's getting surgery in your fucking kitchen. And doctor shows up. he again has the lidocaine. He's got a scalpel. He's got all this shit, and he like cuts open the foot, and then he actually like glued it together. And then I have to have dinner with them with my foot like totally elevated, just like, you know, seeping pus out of it. And then 3 days later, it was over. But the whole thing was like, it was probably like a 15 day ordeal. And it did finally get better. And strangely, that is when I actually started, and I know all my guy listeners are going to love this. It's when I started to fall in love with Lisa, because I knew she was one that was really going to take care of me. And that was the beginning of our love story, which now brought us to the Smoky Mountains. And I believe that was a 55-minute long story that I hope you guys enjoyed. Smash that subscribe button, like, share. I love doing this, telling stories to you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, please share, please do all those things. I'm Richie Redding, and that's really real. Thanks, guys.
In a world that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news, nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy.